Hello everyone, it's me Ina, and welcome to video number 2 in the new chapter of my life. First, I believe this is the first video I'm doing for 2022. I believe my first video was done New Year's Eve, so technically it was still 2021. So with that being said, Happy New Year to everyone. I genuinely pray that everyone has a very happy, healthy, and prosperous new year. God knows we all deserve it for 2022, and hopefully we'll get through this pandemic very soon. There were a couple things I wanted to talk about since the last video. Some things had happened in the 1 week since the last video, and I kind of want to touch on it briefly. Just to let you all know, I originally did this video last night before I went out, and it ended up being over an hour long. I kind of started rambling off about some stuff, and then I tried to sit down and edit it. And if you don't know anything about doing editing or text stuff, it can be very frustrating. So with that being said, I chucked the original video I did last night, and I'm redoing the video now. I am in the comfort of my bed and my jammies, and I am clean-faced. So this is me, people. Okay, so to start off, after the first video last week, I have received a number of messages from people who saw the first video, and for those in some of the Facebook groups asking me how I got my first carrier. I guess a number of people are struggling with getting their first carrier, and I want to tell you, you have to be willing and open to promote your business to get your first carrier, okay? I was lucky, I want to say. What I did is I had a flyer created, and I took it upon myself to post that flyer in a number of different groups within Facebook that are geared towards truckers, the freight industry, and dispatching. So what I did is I introduced myself, posted a picture, and I also posted my flyer, which details some of the services that I offer in my dispatching business. And a number of people saw that and reached out to me. And that was how I got my first carrier. It's important that when someone reaches out to you regarding your business, you have a detailed discussion with them. Because if you don't have a very detailed discussion with them, you're going to end up doing or having an issue like I did last week with one of my carriers. I started off the week, I had one carrier that I posted about. I was so excited, and about 3 days later I had 3. Well, here it is a week later, and technically I only have 2 carriers, and that is because with further communication with one of the carriers, I realized we were not a good fit for each other. So communication is very important when a carrier is reaching out to you, or if you're reaching out to a carrier. You want to make sure that you're on the same page. You want to make sure that they know what you expect of them and what they expect of you. You want to know how they expect you to maneuver in this business, but you also want to tell them how you plan on maneuvering in this business. And when I say maneuvering, I'll give you an example. If you have a carrier that you have a contract with, and you cannot book a load for that carrier until you run it past them and they give you the okay to book it, you need to know that up front. But you also need to let them know that if that is the case and that you cannot book a load for them without giving them the detailed information and they telling you, okay, go ahead and book it, you're going to lose a number of loads. That's how fast loads go on these load boards, people. The time it takes you to get in touch with your carrier, to give him the details about the load, and to see if he's willing to accept it, is as fast as that load is going to be snatched up by somebody else. Okay? So keep that in mind. You want to set your expectations up front and make them very clear. Another thing you want to do is you want to make sure that you get detailed information about your carrier's equipment. You want to know what type of truck it is, what's the weight limit it can haul. I mean, you need to know the measurements, because again, I had an issue last week where I had a load. We were about to book it. I made the comment to the broker that it was a single axle. He said, what do you mean by single axle? And I knew it was a weight. We knew there it was a weight limit on a single, how much a single axle could haul. He said, hold on, let me double check to make sure a single axle is okay. Came back to find out the load was for, I believe it was 46,000 pounds, between 43 and 46,000 pounds, which a single axle truck couldn't do. And so we lost that load because we had a single axle and they needed a double axle. That information wasn't in their detailed comments, but knowing that up front that we could only haul a certain amount and the information wasn't in the comments, we presented it to the broker and we saved a lot of face, because I could have took it upon myself and not mentioned that the truck was only a single axle truck. My carrier show up to the load to pick it up only to find out that he can't haul it. So now I would have a disgruntled carrier, because he's like, well, why did you send me here and I can't pick it up? So communication is so important. I can't stress it enough. When you're sending out these carrier identity forms to your potential clients, make sure that you are asking for detailed trunk information. Like, you want to know, do they have swing doors, roll-up doors? What's the measurements of the door? What's the measurements of the trailer? You want to know if they have E-tracks, low bar straps, pallet jacks. You want to know as much about that truck and that trailer as you possibly can. Because the more you know up front, the better your chances of booking a load are going to be, because you're going to have all that detailed information up front and you're not going to be guessing, or you're not going to have to run to the carrier and ask for specifics. Okay? To get the carriers, back to getting the carriers, don't be afraid to create a flyer for your business. As a matter of fact, if you are someone who designs logos, you help create websites, or you do flyers, and you're watching this video, I want you to comment, put in the comments below your detailed information. For those of you who do not have a website or a flyer or a logo created for your business and you're very serious about this, I want you to be able to reach out to some of these people to get this done for your business, because it's going to benefit you in the long run. Again, I got my first client by posting my flyer. And the person that did my flyer happened to be in my dispatching course that I was taking at the time. So you never know where you're going to meet people and what they do. But I'm telling you, a flyer, business cards, a website, and a logo will go a long way with helping you acquire a carrier. The second thing you want to do is, once you get those business cards and that flyer created, don't be afraid to go out to the truck stops and the rest stops and hand them out to the truckers. You never know. There are a lot of them out there that are carriers for companies right now who are thinking of going and becoming owner operators and may need a dispatch. You may have some out there already who are booking their loads for themselves who are thinking of getting a dispatcher. So just go out and hand out a flyer, introduce yourself. You don't have to have this long sales pitch about yourself and the services you offer, but you do want to make sure that flyer lists your services. You want to touch on your services briefly. And then what you want to do is you want to ask them what they're looking for or what they would like in a dispatcher. Not just what you can do for them. You know what I mean? Not just how you can benefit them, but you want to know what it is that you can add to your services or change about what you do that'll benefit them. So just keep that in mind when you're out here looking for your carriers. And don't give up, people. I've seen a lot of comments in the Facebook groups and on Twitter and Instagram about people struggling to get carriers. Don't give up though, because all carriers aren't good carriers and all dispatchers aren't good dispatchers. Okay, you guys have to figure out how you can benefit each other and not just how they can make you money, because you're actually there to help them make money. Okay, it goes hand in hand. So just keep that in mind when you're talking to somebody about becoming their dispatcher or if they're becoming your client in your dispatching business. I will also say, make sure you're going onto Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter and joining these different groups within the freight industry. You're going to meet a lot of people who are in the same position as you, but then you're also going to meet a number of people who've been in this business for a long time who are actually willing to give you good information and good advice on how to maneuver within this business. There are a lot of people on there who've been doing this business for a long time, and they are so willing to answer any questions you have. Be careful. You also have some people on these groups that I've seen who are just nasty. And when I say nasty, I mean they have the most negative spirit about them. I don't understand what the point of joining a group is for, to just disparage people or to belittle them. It makes no sense to me, because we're all grown. It makes no sense to me why a grown person would get on a group and because somebody asked the question, they call them stupid for asking that question. How are they stupid for asking the question? They don't know the answer, which is why they're asking the question. I thought these groups were here to promote and network, not belittle each other. So my thing is this: if you're one of those people that goes in these groups and you're talking bad about people and you're talking bad about dispatchers in general, why say anything at all? Like my mother always told me, if you don't have nothing nice to say, don't say anything. Don't say anything. If you feel a question that somebody asked in the group is stupid, don't say anything. You don't have to answer the question. But somebody out there is planning to answer it because they genuinely care and want to help somebody. But if you don't have anything nice to say, just don't say anything. Just don't. Or leave the group. That's how I look at it. If you don't like it, just leave the group. But a lot of us out here, we genuinely want to network with each other and we want to help each other. At least that's why my videos are up. Because I want to share the mistakes I make with everybody in this group so you don't make the mistakes, or you can learn from what the mistakes that I make. I want to inspire people that it's not too late to start a new business. I want to inspire people to show them that it's never too late to do what you want to do. Go after your dreams and goals. But if that's not you, then just don't join the groups. That's just how I look at it. Okay? So join the groups, network. Don't be scared to speak. Don't be scared to ask questions. And do your research. Another great tool that I use is my mentor showed me a podcast that is on YouTube, and it's a truckers podcast. I'm trying to remember the name of it. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but I will post the information down in the comments below. But it's a great podcast. He talks to any and everybody within the trucking industry, and you learn a lot. He talks to dispatchers, he talks to brokers, he talks to drivers, he talks to agents. You name it, he's talking to them, and they're so willing to share their information, okay? So again, I can't think of the name of it off the top of my head, but I will post it down in the comments below once the video is over. Okay? So don't forget to hustle for your carriers. Ask detailed questions. Make sure you have a great open line of communication. My first carrier, we have a great line of communication with each other. Caesar is the carrier, but his wife Esther also works with the business, and me and Esther pretty much communicate with each other every single day, every day, whether a load is being booked or not. She knows what I'm doing on my part. If I need help with her in regards to setting up accounts on the different load boards or with different brokers, she's willing to help and pitch in and do that. So we work great together. Like I said, I had 3 carriers, ended up actually having to terminate a contract with one of them because the communication was not up to par. I was under the impression that when we agreed to be partners, she was very aware because of the limitations and where she would travel and where she's based out of. She knew how difficult it was going to be to book loads for her. I believe she had been through at least one dispatcher prior to me. But basically, she has a box truck. She's out of Fort Worth, Texas. She doesn't want to go over 100, excuse me, deadhead miles to get to a load. And she's only willing to travel to Texas, Oklahoma, Louisiana, and Colorado. Okay, so with that being said, out of Fort Worth, Texas, within 100 deadhead miles wasn't too many loads. The ones that I did find weren't going to the places that she was restricting herself to. So if I did find a load, then we couldn't take it because the deadhead miles to go pick up the load, let's say, were 230 something deadhead miles. Well, that's over the 100 deadhead miles she was willing to eat up to get to the load. So basically what happened with her, I had a load that I found and I was running it past her just to let her know, hey, I see this, I think it's great, I'm gonna go ahead and bid on it. But in telling her this, I felt like I had to get her permission before I could book it, which I'm a type of dispatcher, I don't operate that way. If I'm working for you, you have to trust that I'm booking the best load for you. Um, I'm not gonna book a load for you that I feel like is cheating you or is taking you out of the way or taking you to an area that you don't want to be. I'm strictly working within the parameters that you give to me. If you tell me you don't want to go to the mountains, trust that I am not booking a load for you that is putting you in the mountains. Okay? If you're not willing to drive over 800 miles, trust that if I book a load for you, it is not over 800 miles. You have to have some trust and faith in me that I am doing what you asked of me. Okay? So we ended up losing that particular load, or we ended up losing a load because it was actually out of our hands. It had to do with the broker's compliance department not getting back to them in time. So another broker snatched it up before our information got back to the broker. Okay. So I had reached out to her because I received an email. And this email came up to me in the morning, and it said that some of the contact information for her trucking company had been changed. And what had been changed was the dispatcher information. So the email it showed me the new dispatcher information, and then it showed me the old dispatcher information. Well, my name and my company was in the old dispatcher information, which I thought was kind of odd because she hadn't told me that she was going with the new dispatcher, or she didn't inform me that she was terminating her contract with me. In my contract, it states that if you're terminating services with Rayless Logistics, which is my company, that you give me written notice within 7 days of terminating your contract. That's all I ask. So I was a little confused when I got the email. So I sent her a text initially saying, "Good morning. I sent you an email. If you can take a look at it and get back to me, that'd be great." So pretty much the day went by, I didn't hear from her. Come to find out, I didn't hear from her because she had booked the load herself. Somehow she found a load and she snatched it up, which was an issue because I actually had found a load for her to Alabama. Now, the only reason I called her about the load to Alabama was because I noticed she didn't have it listed in her parameters of where she would go, but I wanted to see if she would go because the mileage fell within the mileage range she was willing to drive. So in reaching out to her to see if she would go to Alabama, that's how I found out she actually had booked the load herself. So when she did finally get back to me about the email, she stated that she had asked a family member of hers to book a load for her because I had her truck sitting for 2 days and it hadn't moved. I had her truck sitting. Don't get me wrong, I'm not gonna speak bad about her because she's a very nice woman. But I was a little offended by that, only because anybody that knows me knows I will never make a promise to you I can't keep. So at no point in any of our conversations did I ever tell her I would have her on the road on a consistent and regular basis. And the reason I never told her that is because of the limitations she had given to me on where she would drive and her deadhead miles. I knew from then it was going to be an uphill battle to get her loads. In speaking with her, she even knew it was going to be an uphill battle to get her load. She mentioned that to me. Some of the issues I was running into her to book her load, she was running into, and she knew that, and she mentioned it to me. So I would never, ever tell a carrier that is not OTR that I'm going to consistently have you on the road, because you're giving me limitations. And when you give me limitations and restrictions, you're going to have limitations and restrictions on the loads that are available to you. Okay? So she said that I had her truck sitting for 2 days and she needed to make some money. So she got this family member to book her a load, which means she changed the information in RMIS, which is a system in which a lot of the carriers utilize these days to make sure that your trucking company and your MC number is in compliance. It's a compliance system to make sure that the carrier is within compliance, which means your insurance is up to date, your authority is up to date, and it's just a way for them to go within this system to find out, instead of them constantly having to run your MC number and ask for proof of insurance. Okay, that's what that is. So like I said, a lot of brokers utilize this system, RMIS, and anytime you make a change to contact information, RMIS notifies you that this information was changed, just in case you didn't make the change and you want to dispute it. Sorry, my eyes are burning. So she finally got back to me about the email, and she said, that she asked the family member to go ahead and book this load for her. And I personally can't work that way. I can't work as a dispatcher and book you loads if you as the carrier are gonna book loads behind my back or have somebody else do it behind my back, and then you don't even communicate it with me, which is really the issue that I had. If you feel like I'm not doing my job, then I would rather you come to me and tell me that, and we have a discussion about it. But don't keep me on as your dispatcher and you're booking loads for yourself and then not telling me about it. Because what if I go to a broker and I try to book a load for you, get you booked, and then when I send the information to you about the load and all the information about where to pick it up and so forth, you can't do it because you've already booked the load, but you never told me you booked the load for yourself. So guess what? Now I gotta call the broker and tell them, oh, I'm so sorry, we can't take the load because my carrier booked the load for themselves but didn't tell me. Can you imagine how that makes you look in the broker's eye? He's gonna be like, damn, they got some bad communication over there. I don't know if we want to deal with them, because I don't really know if she's gonna be available or not. She could cancel on me at the last minute. It's not a good look. So if you're a carrier and you're watching this, keep that in mind when you're working with a dispatcher. Dispatchers, keep that in mind when you're working with your carriers, how important it is to communicate with each other, how important it is for you guys to set expectations of what you need and what you want from each other. because that's the only way your partnership is going to work. If you don't have good communication, it is not going to work. Okay? So, after she sent me this email saying she had this family member look for a load, and mind you, they didn't even book the load got canceled. My spirit said this is not going to work. So I took it upon myself to email her and let her know that I was terminating our contract because I was not comfortable with the communication, and I just felt like the partnership wasn't going to be beneficial to either one of us. What's funny is I was talking to my mentor, Demetrius, and I was telling him about the situation. He said, Ina, you know what? He said, I'm just going to be honest with you and tell you this. I would have never taken her on as a client. Never. He said, once you told me where she was based out of and where she was only willing to go, he said, and she has a box truck, he said, I knew right there you were in trouble. You were going to have too much trouble trying to book her loads. I'm thinking, as a new dispatcher, oh, I shouldn't have too much trouble because she's willing to go to at least 4 states. Not knowing that coming out of Fort Worth, Texas with a box truck and only willing to go to Louisiana, Colorado, Oklahoma, and Texas, that she was really limited. Had no clue. I should have looked at the truck to load ratio board and DAT for that information. It's a great tool to use, people. As a dispatcher, if you don't know anything about it, go on DAT. There's a load to ratio board telling you how many loads are out there per truck for carriers. If the number is too small for those areas, you want to stay away from them, okay? You want to stay away from them. So I learned a lesson from that. I should have never taken her on in the first place. But at the same time, I felt like the situation was bad. It just wouldn't work out because of communication purposes. So please, 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 I cannot stress enough how important it is to have open and honest communication with each other. I'm praying not only people in the dispatching industry are watching this video, I'm praying carriers are watching it too. Because I want you to know what we kind of deal with on our end so that you can better communicate with your dispatcher. Okay? It's just, I mean, that's how important it is. Another thing I wanted to touch on real quick is this stigma on dispatchers. It's very upsetting and annoying to me when I see this, especially in these groups. When a carrier goes into these groups and posts a comment saying, dispatchers are only money hungry and all they do is sit and watch the load boards, I can do that. Okay, well, first of all, let me tell you this. Not all dispatchers are money hungry. Not all dispatchers just sit and just watch the load boards. And if you can do that, then more power to you. No one is forcing a carrier to hire a dispatcher. Nobody. Okay? It is a benefit to the carrier to hire a dispatcher. Okay? Dispatchers don't just sit and watch the load boards. They also build relationships with these brokers and shippers. Okay? They're doing paperwork for you. to get you these loads. They're negotiating with people. So, which means they have to know what's going on in each area in order to negotiate the best loads for you. So, if you feel like dispatchers don't do anything but sit and watch a load board, then don't hire a dispatcher. But don't disparage them either. That's just like a dispatcher saying, oh, well, a carrier don't do nothing but sit in the truck and drive. I wish I would say that about a carrier. That's so disrespectful and not true. So if you don't appreciate or see value in what dispatchers do, don't hire one. But don't badmouth them either when you don't really know what they do. And vice versa. Dispatchers, don't disparage carriers. No one's forcing you to be a dispatcher. No one's forcing you to work with a carrier. But don't sit up there and belittle what they do when what they do is hard work. You guys need to have mutual respect for each other. But that really just bothers me when I see dispatchers ain't nothing. They just people that sit at home and watch a load board and book a load. Stop it. Just stop it. Be respectful. Just be respectful. I think that's it for today. Like I said, I really wanted to touch on communication, how to go about getting your first carrier, and just how we all need to interact with each other. I just think it's really important that we're all respectful of one another. We're all trying to encourage and uplift each other. There's so much negativity in this world as it is. Why add on to it? If you don't want to network and help encourage others within this industry, then again, like I said in the beginning, just don't join the group. No one's making you do it. That's just how I look at it. Another thing that happened to me last week, which I'll actually touch on more in next week's video, is a factoring company reached out to me and asked me to be an ambassador for their services. One of the services that I offer in my dispatching company is helping to partner carriers with factoring services or factoring companies so that they can get paid faster. Instead of waiting 30 days like a lot of these brokers make you do before they pay out. So if I have a carrier that is not set up with the factoring company and they're interested in doing so, then one of the services I provide is to help them get the best rate with a factoring company. So again, I will talk about that a little more in the next video. I hope you tune in for the next video. Again, I want to say thank you to everyone who watched the first video. I never expected so much feedback from it. It's been amazing to know that there are people out there in the same boat as me who are watching and following me on this journey. It makes me excited. So I look forward to each and every week. I look forward to sharing every experience with you guys. And keep pushing, keep learning, keep striving to build this business of yours. And yeah, I will talk to you next week. So have a great day, everybody. Take care, and I'll see you next week.